uh, put Andre's name in. Let's see. Where are you guys located?
We're in Ashland, Oregon.
Oh, you're in Ashland. Okay.
Yeah.
You been there a while?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have been here for. I think I've been here 7 years. How
Wow.
long have you been here, baby?
Going to my fifth year now.
Yeah. Uh, there's a pretty strong community over there, evidently, right? I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been through there. We just passed through there a couple of years ago, but it was pretty cool. Very. We drove into the town. It was pretty cool. Very eclectic colors and yeah,
That's a good word to use.
yeah, very eclectic. Yeah, we got a lot of friends live up that way. Okay, let's see, Andre. See if I can find him. You have like a dark blue profile picture.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
me.
cool. Yeah, right. I just want to. Boom. Yeah, we're good. Ah, you'll have to approve it. All right, so we got 29 people in the house, and first show of the day. We got another couple on to find out uh, more about these connections and to diffuse the myth that everything's fluffy, love, and light. Why would it be any different for a couple than it is for an individual? Right? But it's a pleasure to have you guys on from Ashland, Oregon. This is Stara and Andre. How long you guys been together?
Going into our 7th month.
Yeah.
7 months.
And and so, how long have each one of you been on? Let's just call it the ascension path, or reawakened, or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, I feel like I've been on a spiritual path my whole life, but I had my awakening during my Saturn return. So like 28, 29. And I'm
Okay,
43. Like,
so like 2007, 2008. Yeah. What about you, Andre?
Same thing for me. I think it was around my Saturn return as well.
Yeah,
And
you
I'm
bet.
38, 30, forget. 38 this year, or 39 this year. So about almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. And so, what was there like a? Well, first of all, were you aware, like being on the individual path, were you aware that these types of connections were out there? I mean, obviously, I guess you would be, but was it something that was in your mind? I mean, like coming up to the time that you met, a lot of people talk about, like Morgan and I, we were both like, I'm never getting back into a relationship. It's going to have to be literally fairy tale-ish in its, in its intel and knowing. What was y'all's situation?
so, so Andre and I, we both have a similar pattern. So we were both married twice before. And so we're both coming from divorces and long relationships with children. Um, I think our first marriages were more like we were both super young, and then our second marriages, I think for both of us, had more of a spiritual tone, but I don't know that they were very conscious. But we tried to be. I think both of us in our previous relationships, and we both followed like the twin flame idea in our previous relationships. And I know for me, when my marriage split, I spent 3 years between the two of them that until I met Andre, and I did believe, and I was shown through my channels that there's a new type of relationship that's being born. And so the old template is that we have to like, see each other's wounds and have all this drama and this trauma. I had my daughter who's now 24. She was 21, and she said, "Mom, this is what I look for in a guy. Why would I want somebody that brings out my dramas?" She said, when I'm with somebody, I pay attention to how I feel when I'm with them. How much do I laugh? What are they talking about? How are they in their previous friendships? And this younger generation is amazing, but she gave me new perspective.
Yeah.
And so while I was doing my own personal work, um, you know, there's a relationship that I think Andre and I were both creating even in our last relationships. we were both doing a lot of work, doing a lot of inner work. We even studied the same methods when our relationships were ending. We got the same therapy through like the Gottman method. Katie, Katie and Gay Hendricks. And so I had this belief that it could be seamless, that we could be the complement to the other, that we could be compatible, like we're compatible with our friends, we're compatible with coworkers, like we're compatible with our children. Why can't we be compatible in a relationship? And so I was shown that these new relationships that are coming in are more like divine unions, like where we're here to support each other. It was just a little bit of a different shift, about me and the vibration, to call in my special alien cosmic lover. And so Andre was getting out of a marriage.
Right. I'm still in the process of it as well right now too, actually. But it's been an amazing, like, connecting with Stara, and yeah, it's been a pretty wild journey so far. And finding the compatibility that I've been looking for the past decade, and it's like there's so much flow. Like that's the word I'm using a lot lately with her. It's like everything's in flow. If there is some friction in our connection, like we're able to process and work through it.
Yeah. Stara mentioned, God, that first of all, that advice from your daughter, like, mic drop. I mean, it's like crystal clear, right? I mean, they're so high frequency. There's not even that lower level dialogue that we've had, because of the experiences we've had. But it sounds like that, when you were talking about like that download that you got, the channel, and that was basically saying that you don't have to do this anymore. This is available. I know a lot of people that come on the show, I guess one way or the other, comment or just, kind of exhibit the energy of, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on for just, as individuals. And, it's got such a newness to it. There's almost like this, for those of us who might be a little older, especially, and I don't know, you guys probably can relate to this, but like, when's the shoe going to drop? Like, this is too good to be true, kind of thing. It's almost like it's hard to get used to that flow that Andre's talking about. So with you two, when you started together, was it just something that happened naturally? Was it something you had to kind of adjust to? Like, wow, this is, pinch yourself and poke the other person in the arm and go, wow, are you really here? I mean, was that a challenge, or was it just something you didn't have to adapt to at all?
Well, it was really surreal. And, we met on Tinder. So we have this joke, like two aliens met on Tinder and the world was never the same. And he had just gotten on Tinder. Oh, what's going on with this speaker? Stop making noise here. So when I met him, he was going through this divorce, and he's like full-time dad, taking care of his son, working full-time. And I had originally was like, wow, like, he's probably not ready for what I'm ready for, but he's awesome and amazing, and let's go have fun. Let's go have fun. I'm going to take you out dancing, because he hadn't been dancing in a long time. And, we both have a background in like music festivals.
Is this the first date you're talking about?
This is our first. Well,
okay.
At first I didn't actually think it was a first date, because I was like, let's meet as friends, and I know through my divorce, like I was celibate for 2 years afterwards. So I didn't know where he was, and I didn't want to put any pressure on him, but I could I just wanted to be his friend and support him. And he's so cute with his son, and just, just so loving to everything in his life. And so I invited him to ecstatic dance in Mount Shasta. And we did a little micro magic, and that's where it all happened. It was pretty phenomenal. And so, yeah, like like as we deepened into this relationship, it was really surreal. It felt like we never came off that trip.
Wow, I've never heard. Well, I probably have, but I'm just like taking in what you're saying. So you go to this. First of all, you're in Ashland, so that's like what, 3 hours to Mount Shasta, right?
It's like
an
an hour,
away.
20 minutes.
Oh, hour 20.
Pretty
And
close.
so like, so the psilocybin. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, you went into this new dimension or this new playground. You're both going in. The circumstances are very similar, including that course or that therapy that you took or whatever it was. And so, like the psilocybin, like that's how you kind of, or at least it was present when you founded the relationship. I guess that's what I'm saying. And you're saying that continued on. Was that night like a dimensional experience? I know the psilocybin because you know what I mean. I mean, was it like something that really just stayed with you too?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely surreal, like, how we matched on all different levels. It felt like we never came out of it, and then things started happening in our reality. So there was all these timelines around us that started to dismantle because of our relationship. And so, like the exes started acting out, and there was like all of this energy, towards, our relationship, and we're changed as individuals. And so like the alignments are changing with all of our relationships. And it was really beautiful because we stayed really aligned. And so all this stuff is happening outside, and all these things are trying to find their realignment. And we're just in this like really balanced path. There was a time when my guides showed me that our love was like this balloon, and as the balloon was rising, there's all these like old attachments and hooks trying to get into us. And they were like wet spaghetti trying to pierce the balloon, and that we were meant to continue our love and just keep rising, and that those spaghetti threads would just fade away. And they would go find the next soul contract for that healing.
Well, the other thing too, I'm thinking is like you guys picked like the most intense time to connect. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that did because they're starting to come out, during 2021. And of course, that's what, a year and a half into this whole programming with the COVID, and I'm just speaking from not political terms or anything, just energetic terms, like so much more solitude. I mean, the expansion was happening so quickly, and then you guys kind of set it up and meet in the middle of it. I mean, did you have, I mean, this year's been a year of massive waves of transformation with all the pain and pleasure that goes with it. I mean, how do you navigate that as individuals? Because I know that can be a lot on an individual. I mean, do you ever have times where you just say, I need some time alone, or do you do these ride these waves together for the most part?
Yeah, I think we try to stay together in these moments for sure. And like, yeah, there's definitely moments where we need our space to reflect and meditate on things. But by the end of the day, we're together and planning and coordinating together and making sure that we stay in flow through all these times. Yeah, COVID, divorces,
Fires.
The hurricane. Right?
Yeah,
The
snowstorms. Like, there's just a lot of stuff happening in the external world, right?
Wow.
So, but
and you guys were like the eye of it, huh? The eye of
right. So we do our best to like stay in harmony through it all.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
we're sitting there and the world is on fire around us, literally. So smoke so bad, and we feel like we've up leveled, like we've gotten to the next level of this game of life within our love, like it's a whole nother playing field. And so we had talked about moving in together, and so I have 2 children still at home with me half time, and he has 1 child. And so we wanted to see how the blending would be. And so we decided to go on this trip for 2 weeks in the summer to different places like Nevada.
How old are the kids?
They're 11, 9, and 3.
Okay. Who's got the 3?
I do.
That's your, okay. So 11, 9, and 3. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And so, it's like 107 degrees. One of the kids, we didn't realize COVID was going through our family right at that time. And we're lost. And my 2 kids are fighting. They have since balanced out, but like they were fighting a lot more than ever during that time. And they don't usually fight like that. And his son was sick and it was crazy. And the way that him and I navigated it was what made us decide to move in together. It wasn't that everything was perfect. It was that I don't want to experience any of this without you.
Wow.
Like experiencing it with him makes everything beautiful.
So, I mean, that's what you just said. That's a pretty intense experience, especially when you got a 3-year-old that most likely.
He was full of snot, crying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm right around to our area.
And you're on the road, which is already stressful, and you got kids in a car, which is stressful. I've had 6. I mean, that's like. So, was it that? Well, I guess was one of the things that was part of it. I mean, it sounds like it. Like you said, okay, and it was really sweet. I just don't want to go through it, whatever's coming without you, kind of thing, right? But like how you guys actually did it when you went through that 2-week experience, was that like an anchor to stay balanced? Like, was one of you or both of you always kind of like just solid, or were you just kind of solid together? I mean, how did that work?
I feel like we're both.
It's a pretty cat.
This is Blueberry.
We both like to give, and we're both very aware of other people's feelings and emotions, and so I think we're both very in tune. And so I think it was both of us. So like, if I see that he's getting, a little overwhelmed with Lava Lamp, this is his 3-year-old's current name, then I'm there to support him. And the fun thing is that, so I have 5 children, but I've never been the supportive parent. I've always been the main parent. And now here I get to play this role as a supportive parent. And so I'm already somewhat familiar of what Andre's going through and what it is to like have a 3-year-old. And so I feel like we both, so we looked at 30 houses with kids and we end up in these cosmic laughs. We just have a cosmic laugh overall. Like things will get really like, however, and we just end up having a cosmic laugh. And we're both very solution oriented, and neither one of us really want to fight. And we don't really care that we're right. We just want to be heard and to find the solution. And so having those common, those common morals, I guess, made it just really easy. I don't know that one person holds in the other, but like I know that if one of us needs support, the other one definitely is right there. Yeah.
We're able to. I feel like it's like a dance between like the feminine and the masculine energy, the yin and the yang. If someone needs to be more yang, like I'm able to like step back a little bit and be more my feminine and let Stara lead in those moments, and vice versa. Yeah. So we're able to like have that awareness and like, okay, we can lead this one. Now just surrender more.
Surrender more. Whatever that word is beyond surrender, actually, right?
Yeah.
But like, so the kids are just incredible. I mean, as you were saying, I mean, they're just starting to really come out in a huge way. Like, I mean, how long have you been living together? And is your energy, do you see it like affecting the kids, or what effect does it have on them? Or is there do you feel like there's any type of like just energetic concurrence, convergence, or they're becoming part of your energy? You know what I mean? I mean, can you speak to that a little bit?
So my 9-year-old and his 3-year-old, at first, my 9-year-old, she's always been like, I don't like kids. My kids also scared off any guy that tried to even come around me for years. And when they met Andre before before we were dating, or when I was still thinking like, this will be a friendship. I want to be there for him as a friend. He's going through a divorce. My kids came up to me and they were like, "Mom, he's cool. You can date him." Which was surprising to me, because you got to see my kids. Like they're like no holds bars. They would like just shut these guys down. These guys would come up and just try to be friendly with them. And they were like, psh. And my daughter also never liked little kids. She's like, there's slobber on you. They touch you. They don't they don't respect your boundaries, and all true things for toddlers. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But his son is very mature and very sweet. And there was a time, it was actually right after those 2 weeks, where they're like two peas in a pod now. They're like, but he follows her around. He follows her around, and she has to take space, and we help her because he just gets so excited. Like, it's interesting because the love between me and Andre, I see it still in the masculine and feminine in our family between them in a different way.
Wow.
And it's cute. Like, his son will come up and like kiss my hand, and like they see the affection. My older kids, we're still going through the whole like step parenting thing and what that means. And so, like my daughter has a nickname for Andre, and but it's all cute.
Yeah.
It's cute, like watching us become a family. And we just traveled for Christmas. We took the kids to Legoland, and they were so happy.
Wow.
There was
I guess it took a guy with a mohawk to walk in to settle things. The other ones all probably look too
That's
typical.
That's it.
Yeah.
guy with the mohawk.
So, like, I'm just curious, because it sounds like that your previous relationship occurred, let's say, post 2012, or at least part of it. And then we have heard of a lot of people talk about kind of a prior twin relationship, or what they thought was, or they call it the dark twin, or all different things you hear. And then all of a sudden, here comes, what you have. Like, Andre, what have you noticed, I guess, about her, in terms of the feminine, that you didn't know about or hadn't experienced with the previous?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like Stara is really redefining what feminine is for me. One thing that I didn't know, or like what I knew of what feminine is, but I didn't experience it in the past, is like the very like gentle, supportive energy. And yeah, that's one of the traits I really like about her. And also like the creative side of things too. Like when when the masculine is able to put a container around something, like a structure, and let Stara like be as creative as she can be in that space, and it's a very, very beautiful experience. And she's so creative in so many ways, and I just needing that little bit of masculine like structure and things that she's able to like really he wants to say hi. that she can really like get in her channel, in her zone. Yeah.
So was it was it kind of, because I can tell are you a practitioner, an energy practitioner?
Yeah, I'm a temple dancer, and I do teach energy. I teach energy movement.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
like Kundalini yoga and movement. And
okay. So and plus you guys are in Ashland, so there, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, there's a community there, pretty solid, I would imagine. Substantial in terms of, say, the rest of the country. There's not too many, I wouldn't think, that could be at that level. But I guess what I'm asking you is, so like when you met Andre, was there that vibe already, like like you have in these communities, or the people that are in these communities kind of carry, and they're familiar with, be it Reiki or dance or energy work or that type of thing? Was that something that was pretty similar when you met, or was there some adjustment there?
I'm like a low-key shaman.
Yeah, and so like he studied a lot through the Taoism,
Taoism.
the Taoism, with Tantra, and I was just born tantric, I think. But
we're gonna have to get to the sacred sexuality real quick.
Yeah, we do a lot in those realms, and we just really matched in that way. So the things that you said, the things that you had been studying and working on, he was actually able to implement in our intimacy.
Wow.
And we, like actually being met at those levels. You know, what is it like to be satisfied for the first time in your life ever? In all areas, you know, and it's like, wow, like all of a sudden there's like no more anxiety, no more anxiousness. Like it's interesting how clear it keeps everything, you know?
Yeah. Well, wow, this is really cool. I'm digging this. So you both had kind of a tantric you know, understanding. I mean, you were well.
Hey Todd, you lost about. Oh. I wonder if it's us or. Hey Todd, we couldn't hear you the past 30, 40 seconds of that.
This person. Everyone can hear and see you. I wonder if they can hear and see us, or they can hear and see him. Oh, okay, now it's just us. But I don't know if that means we're on still. It says we're live. Okay, so if you're watching, we don't know if you're seeing us or you're seeing Todd, but Todd disappeared for a moment, so he will be back. So I guess we will just keep talking to you beautiful creatures out there. So I guess we can talk about like this idea of what is a divine union, maybe for people that haven't found their union yet. And I know for me, and Andre has said this too, like we had to have a perspective of what's possible. You know, you have to believe that it's possible to be with someone that you're actually compatible with. And when you find somebody that you're compatible with, it makes sense why things didn't work out with other people, because you realize you just weren't compatible. You know, sometimes what I found is like the most intense attractions to people can be karmic. And so that doesn't always mean to like jump into those relationships, but rather like just wait it out a little bit and see what the meaning of that relationship is. Mm-hmm. When I met Andre, I just felt really comfortable and happy, like my best friends. And when I was doing a lot of my work, my guides had told me, you know, I said, oh, why do I always attract these men, these push and pull energies? And my guide said, you know, you've always had the guy next to you. It's just he's always been your friend. You know, it's always been there. And I'm like, oh, so I'm supposed to date my best friend. And like just changing that perspective opened me up. And then when I met Andre, I'm like, whoa, he's like my best friend. Best friend benefits, and with best friend with cosmic lover benefits. And for you, like how was it for you? Like, did you know, like you were intending this particular relationship?
Yeah. Yes. Totally. I think it's around like just knowing what didn't work before, and which got me closer to what I wanted.
Oh my God, you guys are natural. Y'all just kept doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't sure if people were watching, so we wanted.
Oh yeah. There's still 69 people in the house. Go figure. We start talking about sacred sexuality. Excuse me, I can be a bad boy sometimes.
It's all good.
So no, this is cool. But every time we start talking about some sacred wisdom, sacred practices, you know, weird stuff starts happening technology. But okay, so you know, my wife Morgan, she downloaded one of the things she downloaded in the early 2000s was Arios Gamos, which is, you know, as I understand it, and I'm not as well versed as she as you are. Arios Gamos would be kind of like starting from the ethers.
Todd, your internet's like kind of breaking up.
Am I back?
We can understand you, but it's still very broken.
And your screen is frozen.
That's just not cool. All right. Wow, this would be a great show.
We can hear you, but like your screen is frozen.
All right. Let me try time to come out. I'll be right back.
Okay.
It's like really. Oh,
Bummer.
here's Todd again.
Okay. Is it working?
We can hear you.
Okay.
You're still frozen, but we can hear
That's
you.
okay. I mean, if I'm frozen. Dang. So what a great. I don't want to talk. I'm just going to go jump right back into it. I think we were talking about COVID again, getting another strike. So the Helios Gamos, it's like starting the merging, starting in the ethers and working down to the physical. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So our path was kind of like that. So we were 17 months in different countries during that period, and then we came together. And that work we did in those 17 months, which she obviously introduced and actually occurred from the moment we met. 3:30 in the morning, long story, but so there was this familiarity that translated into our physical meeting and, you know, intimacy of all kinds. And as you know, it doesn't just mean getting buck naked and jumping in bed. This is a whole different ballgame.
Right.
And then my understanding is tantric is a conscious physical experiencing, bringing it almost like going up. You know what I mean? What has been different about the two of you in terms of intimacy and, you know, the sacred sexual energy compared to prior?
Everything.
You can go as deep as you want to go. This is so deep, you know.
You can go first.
I mean, obviously, anything you're comfortable, anything you're comfortable with. But
Everything.
if you give me a little daylight, I might, you know, there's no. Anyway, you go.
So when we make love, I go to these heights. So I'm a psychonaut, and also through meditation, I can't even like do full doses of things anymore, just microdoses. But like I've been to many places, you know, in my psyche, and I can connect to those places really easily. When I'm with him, I can be in that state for like 40 minutes, and going to like deeper places and having like really clear connections where, like, let's say I were to do ayahuasca, yes, it would be clear and puking and kind of like, you know, there's a whole thing that goes along with it. And our love, like our intimacy, I go to those same places, but it's really clear and it's really clean. And, you know, our intentions, those are the times that we put our intentions in. The thing that I love about this relationship is the reciprocity. And so that's something that I clearly asked for on my list before Andre came, is I wanted reciprocity. And so with Andre, if I touch him, he touches me back. He touches me, I touch him. There's a reciprocity happening. Like I throw him the ball and then he throws me the ball back. And we're actually playing a game together, where I think in my previous experiences, I wasn't met like that. And definitely, like, you know, we definitely didn't have the consistency of the lovemaking in my previous experiences that Andre and I have. And so like a lot of what me and my past relationship could get to our most beautiful place And that's what kept me in the relationship, was we could get to the love bubble. We could get there after all this work. Andre and I start there. That is our baseline. And so that's the hero Sugemos for me, is that like it actually starts there, and then we go into higher levels of ecstasy, like expanded levels of like going into, I call them the DMT realms, some people call them the astral planes. Like I don't I don't need to use the same paths that I did when I was younger because of this tantra path that I have now.
So do your very frequent interludes, which we can get back to in a minute. So I say like rabbits, but no, I'm kidding. These but do your intimate encounters, do they come with kind of an expression of the third energy, or an expansion of dimensional or interdimensional experiences, or a higher level of intel? Or do you have, like, say, the things that happen to each one of us on the individual level in one way or another? Do you share those types of experience, or has anything happened, visitations, anything that you feel is related to your mutual frequency?
I think it's all of the above.
Really?
There's definitely moments of just like the physical aspect of things, but there's also most of the time it's like we can get into those higher dimensional fields, right? I'm also a psychonaut and also a lucid dreamer and a dream walker. So I study and also practice lucid dreaming and astral projection. So like it expands that awareness for me even more, especially when I sustain, when I don't like ejaculate. I'm like, this energy's in me, and I can like, I had a really crazy dream last night, by the way. I'll share with you later.
But you want to tell us about it?
I'm still processing.
This show is really designed about current intel, so it's all about the present moment. But no, I'm just kidding. Whatever you're comfortable.
It's some like starseed kids were showing me some new technology around like water and like some sort of metal. So anyway, I don't know what it is yet, but like I was tapping into something in that new technology things.
Wow.
But so that's one of the things that I practice is like sustaining, so when I don't come for like a week or something, I'm like, my energy is really clear and I'm able to harness this. And I'm like, I don't know if you noticed, this past few days, I'm like just doing things. I'm like, well, I have enough energy. I slept for like 5 hours last night and I'm still like able to like do these things around
leap tall buildings.
So like,
can you unzip your jacket so we see the S on your chest? No, I don't know if it stands for Superman or Seaman Man. No, I'm kidding.
What do you have?
It's
Water?
It is.
Water.
No,
It's a water shirt.
It's a water shirt. Wow.
But
okay.
Yeah, it's one of my previous relationships. Like we didn't have that frequency of intimacy. Like, oh, I get intimate maybe every other week or once a week kind of thing, and then it loses its place, right?
Yeah.
So we're able to like get back into where we left off, and then like blast off again from that point on. So, and
is there any difference in the pace of the intimacy that from prior to y'all's relationship, or yeah?
Like,
well, I mean, like, is it
to get to that point?
Just the pace, like, I think we all came from a realm that was obviously had a whole different set of templates, including codependency, toxicity in relationships, distorted sexuality. And I think as a result, I think we all know this. It's not, like rocket science, but that the distortion of sex itself was a perfect catalyst, I guess is one way to put it very nicely. Because really this new intimacy with these new connections that Stara was talking about, they have a whole different frequency. And I think, we're still in the early stages of what does that look like And I guess one way to figure that out is, what's the difference?
Right.
And I think a pace, like, sex was like a stress reliever. Sex was a lot of things for us before, we started to get into this level of awareness. But yeah, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely have the older templates before, of growing up here in America, like porn, for example, is a big thing back,
Yeah.
I dove into those realities, and then I got to a point where I was like, man, this is starting to feel like not right, So that's where I got into like Taoism and in those higher realm practices,
Okay.
which led me to like attracting Stara. I feel like, that has the same similar beliefs.
Yeah. It's like
And
two shooting stars colliding.
two shooting stars.
and then oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and so with that, it's like really reprogramming my templates of like what is sex to me,
Yeah.
And now it's like I feel like our experience together, 95% of the time, it's like very energetic. Yes, there is that physical components of it, but it's very energetic to me. Like I can feel like where this energy is going, like traveling up my chakras, for example, or traveling down whenever. Like I can control that. Like it can go up and down for me. So it's like one Taoist practice for me to like circulate the energy back all the way up. So it's really interesting for me to be more sensitive to these energetic components. The experience.
Wow.
So I need to keep up with her as well. So it's like that practice is like
I was just gonna say, I can relate to the, moving the energy, but I'm not able to really control it as much when the divine feminine really, which is, I mean, it's, I'm making a joke about it, but I mean, that's really actually where my question was going to go. There's a lot of, there's been a lot of discussion as we're getting into these new things, such as these new connections, new intimacies, or renewed, I guess. And the feminine seems to hold the information, like not only in her, her mind, heart and mind, but in her body, in the infinity of her body as the universe itself. Have you, as a man, have you like, I guess I would say like learned or seen things or experienced things that kind of expanded your universe through basically exploring the universe that you're sharing space with?
I think for me, it started with Taoism for sure, and then that opened up the realm of the people that I needed to connect with, that had next information for me. So I started meeting people who were also Taoist priests and priestesses. So which led me to like other books and other knowledge, and yeah, I just kind of, and that's a whole practice on its own. That's a whole thing that I feel like I'm barely just touching the surface. I'm just on the surface of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I started to believe in these practices and also actually implementing them, the manifestation of like attracting the right partner was just very easy. Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that saying: "When you're ready, the master shows up, or the teacher shows up."
Yeah. Right. So I'm just being humble and grateful for everything. Yeah.
So, Stara, do you receive like intel, or either one of you really, like in terms of, the some of the purposes or purpose beyond anchoring the connection of, say, a higher alignment of divine love, or a higher trajectory of divine love? Do you receive like information to help guide you in your relationship?
I do. So I have a show too called Birthing a New Reality, and if you follow my shows, you'll see the channels coming through are actually preparing me for this relationship. And so the channels start talking about, like you said, the the old twin flame matrix and goes into these new unions. Some of the things now that I'm in the union is just like how easy it is. So like in my previous relationship, it was really difficult to even get to the place of intimacy, you know, and then to stay there. And like for us, we're just always there. So I definitely get a lot of clarity and a lot of answers. Some things that I noticed from the beginning were we tap into that eternal love of the masculine and feminine. So the love that we feel for each other is so much deeper than us. And I feel like you probably feel that too, Todd, in your experience. The love we're tapping into, it's so beyond the 3D. It's like, you know, people do Bufo or the 5-MeO DMT, and like we go there during our lovemaking to this like expansive love, and we're embodying that. And so we're embodying a love that is much older and more ancient than us, but we get to actually be vessels for that.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another level in this game.
Well, you mentioned DMT and you mentioned ayahuasca, and I was actually going to come back to it because I thought that's what you were referring to, and you just kind of affirmed it now, which is, you know, Morgan's we're kind of polar opposites, as you know, so many of these couples and so many of their aspects are, and I've experienced a lot of plant medicine and other things that, you know, were probably illicit and, you know, things like that. But so I've had those hallucinogenic experiences and such. But you had mentioned now a couple of times how you go to that place where you're in the frequency of the DMT experience or the ayahuasca experience. You even mentioned puking, and this is what I was going to come back to, because we've actually had, you know, we've been pretty open about this, but so we were, this last time we were together, I think, I can't remember right now, date. So it would be like 19, 20, yeah. So over 2 years, almost 2.5 years. And so as we were leveling up, you know, in our intimacy, in this new intimacy, there were times that the energy, and I think this is the same thing you're talking about, that the energy was, that the frequency was such, you know, it was so vast and so, you know, so huge, and I guess, you know, unfamiliar, at least at this point in the incarnations, right, that it would literally make us sick. We had to keep like a vomit bowl, you know, in the room. Not that it always happened, but we would literally, and it could just be just, you know, arms around each other and kissing. I mean, it was just, and it happened many, many times. I know that you're talking about the dimensional, or let's just say the non-physical, or however you want to put that, part of the DMT and the ayahuasca type of frequency banding. But did you also have physical sensations? Were there any complications, anything where the body's like, oh, wait a minute, slow down, you know, anything like that?
I mean, I could feel like, so I'll do this like shake thing when energy has to remove from a chakra, which happened, and definitely tears. I've cried in his arms over things I've never given myself permission to cry about, because as a woman, you can't. Like, we're not allowed to process when a man comes into our boundaries and touches us inappropriately. Like, how many women have allowed themselves to cry for that? We can't. We just have to be tough and, you know, like push them away and get like a little bit harder and like keep moving forward. And, you know, so there's things like that, like experiences that we're having in life where, like in our lovemaking, I'll have these like massive energetic releases of the men who didn't respect my boundaries, or
like a sexual healing almost. Yeah.
Sexual healings. Yeah. You know, I feel like Andre is my key. Like, he has the key that unlocks different dimensions and portals in my energy.
That's the way Morgan refers to it, the key in the lock.
Yeah. And Andre, you were telling me that he feels it too. Like, yeah. He feels where he can feel where I'm going.
Yeah.
And I can feel where he's going. Like in the beginning, we talked about it as melting. We felt like we were melting into each other. and then there was a time where it felt like we were just one being, just loving itself. And so it wasn't like just one person was feeling amazing. It was like this, like from everywhere we were touching, it was like this oneness, which I feel like you probably know what I'm talking about, Todd.
Yeah. No, I'm. That's why I'm kind of digging. I have a curious mind anyway, but because all the experiences are different. I mean, everybody's experience is different. I guess what I'm saying. But there's more and more convergence. The more alignment with the stories, you can see it easier and easier. So I think that's one of the big reasons that she got the download that couples need to come on as we get into 2022, because it was about like the real, the new information. Like, what does it feel like? What does it look like? Because it is kind of a mix of the human, the higher selves, the genders, the physical and the non-physical. But yeah, I can relate. So a part of what's happened with us is the participation. Yeah, and I guess other things with the light bodies or the etheric bodies. Have you had any sense of that, like they're dropping in or viewing them making love, or they're making love, and then the next time you're doing what they were doing? I mean, anything like that where you see them, whether it's with your so-called eyes or whether it's just feeling and intuition.
So you mean like have out of body experiences while we're making love?
Well, I mean, it could be. It's not like exactly like, say, the way that we might have seen it. I'm just saying that, are you aware at all? Is there any? Not that there's a right or wrong answer either. This is just, like the light body's involvement or something. In other words, some interaction, be it intimate or not, of the higher selves, you might say, or the souls.
Yes. We just have to plug our computer in really quick. I definitely feel that. Something that we even commented on just recently was like, wow, like we could almost not even touch each other at this point because it's so energetic, because it's such an energy dance. It's such an energy flow. And so that is all the light body, right? The ethereal body. And I do get really clear messages during our sessions, visions. It's like crazy being able to go to these places again without the distraction of the substance.
Right.
Because the substance brings its own like confusion sometimes and overwhelmment and sickness. But to be able to go to these places and actually stay there and be there and have conversations with beings in this place, have clarity. It's truly transcendental.
So when you say sessions, are you talking about a typical session or your intimately involved type of session?
What we call our intimately involved sessions.
We need to have some sessions.
Well, we'd like to talk about our sessions too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I do want.
So I have one thing to add to that.
Yes.
My dreamscape has really been more vivid. Sometimes I wake up, I'm like, did we just have another session? Like it's sometimes it's like it feels so surreal that I have to like ask her. And then there was one time I was like, that was a dream, and then she's like, no, it wasn't. I'm like, wow.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Things like that, like we might consider them. Yeah.
Like my dreamscape and this reality, especially with our lovemaking, it's like blending. I'm like, I don't even know what is real anymore.
So, you said you made the comment that you like to talk about your sessions. Is that on your podcast that you do that, or you mean just?
No,
Just
I've been wanting to do shows with him, but he's never done these kind of interviews before. This is his first one.
Oh, he's doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah. So it's something we want to do. Yes, and so hope this can be our.
Okay, so we can practice. Do you want to tell us about one of your sessions? Whatever. I mean, whatever you just. I mean, this is your chance. Hey, Soulogy is a
Very,
Very first time.
very first time.
Okay, so we had, we went on that date and we had some moments and there was like some kissing and it was really not good. And like, some of the things I noticed with him were like he doesn't annoy me, and like I enjoy being around him. I enjoy his awareness about me and my space, and all like things that you don't just want to jump in a bed with somebody.
exactly.
Make sure you actually enjoy being around them and like you get along, and like he's so sweet. We're on the dance floor. He brings me water. Something that I really love about Andre is that he doesn't get insecure or jealous when other people look at me.
Right.
And so like when we go out and we go dancing, like people will look at me because of how I dance, or because of who I am. And I never have to like play myself down around him. Like he loves it. He's like, yeah, these people were checking you out and you're coming home with me. And like he doesn't punish me, and I'd actually had that experience in a previous relationship where I was punished from his insecurities. And so like I noticed all that stuff right away with him, just hanging out with him and really enjoying his company. And so when it came time to have intimacy, like we both noticed it, like we had some pretty heavy foreplay coming into it. Everything just felt good on an energetic level. It was like its own high and its own bliss. And then when he entered me, it was electric. Mm-hmm. I would say like that. I never experienced anything like that. And him either. I think we even went, like, it was like a moment where we both just stopped and looked at each other like, what is this? And it was getting juicy. Like, don't get me wrong. Like all the like, making out and like playing with each other was getting juicy. But like when that moment happened, it was, it was like for me, like I knew that something, like I was about to experience something that I've always been waiting for. It like recently when we were in San Diego in our session, my download was this is God's pick for me, which like turned me on even more in the session.
This is God's what?
This is God's pick. This is God's pick.
Okay.
This person that I'm with is God's pick. And this is why I was made.
Now, wow, that's pretty hot. Now, well, no, because that's in the middle of a session, right? Did you say a minute ago that when you're something about talking to Star Family during sessions? Did I hear you right?
I've had conversations with beings
in the middle of the session.
Yeah, well, because like we'll be in the middle of the session and I'm in like this 40-minute climax, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, just depending. But like when I'm really in that place where I'm just like that open and like just all of these different places, like it so there's like lots of different orgasms, right? Sometimes I feel it in my heart, sometimes it's just a body orgasm. But when we really get deep and consistent, it's like this whole other dimensional place. And I see things really clearly. It's just such an amazing feeling.
Yeah. So it's not like a council appears in the middle of the session, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to get
No. I know. I've had the visions with the council. One time in particular, I'm thinking about your old house that we lived in, and it was during that 5-week time, and just got these really clear messages with these beings, and my ex was trying to keep my kids from me when I got together with Andre, and there was a lot of lessons for me in that. And so they were like everything's going to be okay, and they were giving me a lot of like clues, for example, of like what to focus on in court. I mean, it was a thing, and I really don't want to be in these interactions with people, but those were the collapsing of the timelines where people had to realize like we're going to be together. And so I got this really clear message, and this is what they told me. They said, he's gonna throw a fit, He's going to keep your kids from you. You're going to have to go to court, but it's all meant to happen. When it's all said and done, you're going to be with Andre and nobody's going to be able to question it, and your kids are going to be fine.
Wow.
And that's exactly what happened. But I needed that clarity because it was a really difficult moment for me, and this person I had given away my power to him a lot in the past. And so I'm still like learning how to stand in my power and not let someone else's narrative, influence my life. And so it was during a session when I got that clarity, like they were just really clear on the process and what was going to happen and that it was going to be okay. That it had to happen because within the happening of that, when it's all said and done, it's going to be accepted that I'm with Andre. And there was a point in court where the judge actually commented on Andre being a credible witness when the opposing energy was actually trying to attack him.
Yeah, discredit.
Yeah, discredit him. And so so the beings were there and gave me like really clear, and then it helped, and then they were giving us the vision of the balloon rising.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far out. So Andre, have you had the orgasmic sensations in different parts of your body like she has?
Yes, for sure.
What
Mine's definitely, because I spend a lot of time in these, lucid states during my dreams and the astral world. Like in our sessions, like I love to just be in touch more with my body and also energetically, and just kind of like really be aware of that, because there's a lot there. There's a lot there. So like, there's moments of like when I orgasm, it's all the way up here in my upper chakras, and that is like a fireworks visual. And I can like see these chakras just like opening up and just like, I don't get like the downloads that she gets from like these channels in those moments, but like it comes to me in my dreams instead, like afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. And so like there's been talk too, and people have talked about it and talked about their experiences, and we have and it's again right or wrong. I'm just curious and trying to get a feel. So like Andre, have you in the intimacy, have you felt your femininity or seen her masculine? In other words, you know what I mean? Have y'all, and really a question to both of you.
I think that's also the dance that we have, not just like day-to-day thing, but like in our sessions. It's going to be a thing.
Sometimes I tie him up. Sometimes he ties me up.
Yeah.
We have a great way of like.
And just, and that's a practice for me to also just fully surrender and trust, right? So that's the feminine in me to like, all right, well, do what you want to do in those moments, Yeah,
sometimes I get really feisty, and sometimes I'm just like totally receiving,
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like knowing intuitively when that shifts, or when that changes or transitions to a different experience. Not instead of like fighting it, which could be like previous relationships, I feel like.
Where the power struggle and the push and pull. There's so we spent the first, after we were like, is this really happening? Is this a dream? Is this real? Is this really happening? Is this a dream? Is this real? Oh my gosh, is this really happening? And that was kind of like, we were like, but once we realized it is really happening, we spent like the first month creating our agreements and commitments and just creating our foundation.
Wow.
For how we're building this relationship. And I think because we've both been in long-term relationships before, we really know now. We know what's what, and we know what we're looking for. And So our baseline is trust.
Mhm.
That's one of our baseline kind of like non-negotiables, right? I have a non-negotiable. That's I get to stare at him whenever I want. That's non-negotiable.
I
'Cause
know
if
Morgan does that to me. She can't take her eyes off of me.
I can't. He's so beautiful, and he's so divine.
So what's the yeah, I mean, I want to make sure and cover this before we get out of here. So Stara, what do you love and admire about him the most? Like, what does he bring to the table that just, makes you melt?
He's kind. He's compassionate. He fixes everything. Like he'll take something that we've had for years and it was broken, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I ordered this part and I'm fixing it," and he actually follows through. He's amazing follow through, and it's so beautiful watching him with his son. And he just really cares about people. He owns his responsibilities. He takes care of his business. He keeps his word. He's great in bed. He's an amazing dancer. I love dancing with him. I love his lips. It's a great kisser.
Holy shift. It's getting hot in here. What about
we need to stop this very soon.
what about you, Andre? What do you love about her the most?
She's also an amazing dancer. I love that about her. Her creativity for sure. Her hair. Just the way she moves her body. She's very, very supportive and kind and generous as well. I love that about her. Her stamina, energy.
I feel like I've had to keep up with you. I got tired last night. I fell asleep for the first time ever.
But yeah, it's a bleep in the Matrix, I guess. But
well, I mean, we still played for like an hour and a half, but then I was tired.
Yeah,
it happens to the best of us.
One of her things that she offers is like she loves to create experiences for us. Yeah. So like that could be like a travel or like an event that we're gonna go to or something. Like she's always on top of that.
Yeah.
And I just show up. It's like
that's pretty much I think how it works in these connections. That's what I was gonna say. Like, like you were talking about the energy, you can move the energy, but something about this blossoming feminine, because it's really happening, right? Collectively. I mean, this is a microcosm of what's happening collectively with these connections. But like, and I guess for all intents and purposes, she's leading or introducing, right? Or what did you say? The way she creates these experiences that you have. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Wow. I'm really glad that we got through all the bugs. I can see my signal was bad and now at least on the surface, and then yours started going bad, but you never dropped out, which was cool.
Awesome.
But it's a pleasure meeting you guys, and wish you the very best. Maybe we can collaborate again later on in the year and see what's happening, see what's changed with you and then Ashlyn. And it's such a cool thing too, because you have kind of like a new earth family, right? Like more soul oriented, higher frequency. So there'll probably be quite a bit that you guys will be experiencing with you and your children. So I wish you the very best, and just keep on going. And thank you for the work that you do, and the commitment and the connection that you have with each other. Because as we all know, it's as the individuals go and the couples go and the small groups and groups go, so goes the collective. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Yay, thank you.
And you get on her podcast and start talking about these experiences. People need to hear about all of these things. It's not, it's important. And you're a natural, and who's going to mess with a guy with a mohawk?